There we go. Stop leaning over. Get back in the center. There we go.
Sorry, man.
With that cool background. Look at that. Ooh.
I'm floating.
A little bit. Let's see if I can scoot that down.
I wonder if I can do that too.
Let's see. Let's grab this. And I should be able to... There we go.
Better, better, better. Do you want to flip me over or not? Probably not in this one.
No,
if I look to my left, I'm looking away from you.
No problem.
It's gonna be sad. I'm gonna look like a rude guest.
Now the other one's flipped. We'll be okay on that one.
All right, good.
All right. I think so. This is of course Mark Miller. Why don't you introduce yourself? Give people the quick rundown who you are.
I'm Mark Miller. I spend most of my time working on CodeRush, and which is an add-in, a plugin for Visual Studio, which helps developers write code faster, visualize things, produce apps faster, debug faster, run test cases faster, that sort of thing. So we are totally hyper-focused on productivity. Also, for about the last 15 years, I've been researching the science of good design. I've got a course on it out at deviq.com, or you can go to SGUI, Science of Great UI, the initials for Science of Great UI, SGUI.com, to see more about some of the research and the things that I've done.
Now, hang on, let's just back up on that. This isn't just, hey, I'm a designer and this looks good. This is science of user interface, right?
Right.
This is actually studying.
Actually, I should say, I'm a developer who, for the last 15 years, has been studying and researching design. And I've been coming at it from a standpoint of not so much, a lot of people focus on practices. What's the best step of, the recommended set of practices to get from point A to good design? And instead, I took the approach of what are the reasons why we have the rules that we have today? And then from that, can we then derive reasons or guidelines for new interfaces, new hardware, even new life forms, right? And so what's cool about the course, and what's cool about the research I've done, is that you end up getting a set of guidelines that are broadly applicable,
Okay.
right, to all kinds of hardware, all kinds of interfaces. They apply to whether you're building interfaces for children or older people or people with disabilities, those kinds of things, and they apply in new situations, right? You get into a new situation, you see new hardware, and you immediately see the problems, right? Whereas if you just focus on maybe the current set of patterns, then you may not be able to quite get there. So yeah, yes, it is based on science. Everywhere I could find studies to back up the conclusions, those were there. In a few cases, I have maybe I would say some tenuous conclusions that I've made that are based on a collection of small studies and gut feel.
Very cool. So, where would you like to go today? When we've broken up the day a little bit here. We've been talking a lot of back-end patterns in designing applications with Steve and Julie and Jimmy there in the last hour. We're going to talk about user interface. Where would you like to start looking at some user interface here for this hour?
I think I want to start with something I'm upset about.
Uh-oh.
If that's okay.
Sure.
Let me share my screen. Can we jump right into sharing my screen and seeing if that works out?
Okay, let's let me go. I'm going to switch back to just me while we switch over to your screen here.
All right.
Go ahead to your screen, and I'm going to turn off this, and I'm making sure everything lines up nice here. I think we're good. All right, let's try there. Hey, look at that. Pro streamer right here. Look at this. Physicaladdress.com. What is this?
So this is a virtual address service. The service is actually excellent. This is a service I use. They allow me to set up a virtual address in the United States. All my physical mail goes there. They open it, scan it. I have access to it off of my phone or computer, laptop, whatever I want. And I can do things like forward things on or whatever I need to do, even remotely. Like if somebody sends me a check in the mail, I can remotely deposit it within a few seconds. So it's not too bad. The problem with the site, though, is right here above the mouse cursor. These red buttons here, sign up and log in.
Okay.
The two buttons, these buttons bug me so much. And they bug me not because they're not big enough. They are, in fact, big enough. But there is no separation between the two buttons. You can't see where the borderline is. And as a result, every time when I go to click, because I don't want to click, there's a penalty to clicking sign up. I don't want to go there.
Okay.
And because I'm on the wrong page, I'm wasting time. Okay?
Okay.
And so I want to hit login. So I'm always like, which one is it? Which one is it? And my cognitive load goes way up.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's something I'm upset about. I wanted to share that. The solution to this, there's a couple of them. One is to just give a little bit of space between the buttons so that I don't have to freak out as I'm moving, as I'm getting up here, up to the, moving the mouse closer to the buttons.
Right.
That's one way. Another way is to differentiate the buttons in some way. For example, if this were my site, I would make sign up be the one with the red background, and login would be off the side as a link. And the reason I would emphasize sign up is because I want it to be easier for customers to come in. Right? If you think about this, let's say this site's had 1 million visits in the last year.
Okay.
Out of those 1 million, let's say 1% accidentally hit login instead of sign up, right? And let's say out of those folks that hit login, those folks, 1% said, you know what, I'm out, right?
Yeah, they get confused. They don't know what to do.
Yeah, and they're like, it's taking too long, right? These UI like this, when you have forward-facing UI on the path to getting money or to getting registrations or to getting signups or whatever that piece of value, that valuable point of interaction, anything along the way that's a glitch or that's a delay or that requires a greater degree of precision for the human body to exert, right? Anything along those that way translates into lost revenue. And the amount of money you lose depends on how many people you've got out there, right? And how many people are seeing your site.
Gosh, Mark, they put the home button in blue there and hung it off the left side. You'd think they could do the same thing with login on the right side.
Yeah, I would be okay with that. By the way, I say there are a lot of ways to fix this.
Sure.
And one of the things I see in my course, and this feels really crazy true again and again and again, is that there are 1,000 ways to do UI correctly, to do good design, 1,000 ways. But there are an infinite number of ways to screw it up.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how I'd like to start. Now, after that, we can go wherever you want. I'm like, we were talking, it was on my mind. You asked me, I was like, I got to get this off my mind.
Absolutely. No, that's, and you know what? Those are simple. That's a simple win, right? That's something that we as developers can easily adjust, right? Changing a font color, adding a little bit of margin and padding around something. That's easy to do. All
right. While I'm upset, let's bring up Amazon.
Oh,
Can
no.
we do that?
Well,
yes.
So, actually, let me ask a question here that related what Ashley is asking here in the chat room. On that last page, there was a sign up today button that was really big at the bottom. Would you have gotten rid of that completely?
Let me see where that is. No, I don't think so. I need to bring it back up again. Let me bring it back up again, and I'll bring it back up here on the screen. Sign up today. No, I wouldn't get rid of that at all completely. I think that's actually really good. There's a couple things are going on here. It's larger, right? It's larger than any of the other buttons on screen, right? There's some red down here, so it's got saturation to call attention to itself. It's clearly labeled in terms of what's going on. I would totally keep it. It's above the fold, right? This is good because this is leading to, it's on the path. I would totally keep that.
That's your sales conversion. Would you remove the one at the top then?
No,
because
I wouldn't
you have
either. And the reason why is because redundant paths to getting money is actually a good thing. In
Okay.
fact, I was about to talk about Amazon. Amazon's got this in several places, redundant paths to get your money. In general, Amazon's UI is not bad, but they do some things that, as a investigator of a product, if I want to investigate and learn about a product, makes it harder for me. However, I have theories as to why they're doing it.
Okay.
But
So
anyway, we don't have to actually talk about Amazon.
no, no,
We
go
can
ahead,
go on something else.
please. All of us, we're here on Twitch. All of us at some point take a look at Amazon.
All right, so here we go. So Amazon. So here's the piece that I'm always scrolling the furthest to get to, and yet I want to get to it all the time. And it's the information that's in the description. It's essentially product description right down here, product details. This is the area that's most important to me. This, by the way, I love this, and I'll talk about this in a second. But that piece being so far down, and in this example I brought up, it's not as far as I remember having to scroll in past examples. Usually I find it down here. So they may have changed order since I last looked at it. If so, that's totally awesome,
But
and I love it.
Can I get to it from that? It says new, one from, and then there's a price with free shipping, and then there's details. Does that details button take me to that section down lower? Do you see the link? It's on the
right here.
Right. There's that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of want the description is kind of where I want it, but I think that is. I think now I've got something that makes me a little happier. Right.
Okay.
It gets me close to it. Now, by the way, this piece right here, I've been using Amazon for years. I never clicked that link until just now. Right. So,
sure.
So we're essentially talking about what could be described as a discoverability problem, right? It's no bigger than, it's not big, and there's aside from being a link, there's no saturation behind it like add to cart is over here. So I'm always forced to scroll. Where is it? Look at, did I go past it? There it is right there.
Now, let me ask a follow-up. From that description that's at the top there, it seems like that bulleted list of features under the price, you kind of skip through, and I know I do that all the time when I'm looking at Amazon at a product. I want to jump right to that product description from the manufacturer down lower, like you're describing, and what's here, I'm not spending a lot of time on.
Yeah, I will scan through it. But often I'm looking for numbers when I'm here, right? I'm looking for things like, max if it's a monitor, what's the resolution? If it's a power supply, that sort of thing. What are the details of the power supply, right? And so I'm looking for numbers typically. So I'm scanning through, and often with products I want to purchase, I find the information I want isn't here, but it's down below, and so I have to keep searching.
I think Shikata in the chat room might have a good comment here for us. Amazon really wants to advertise those other products before we see details. They're trying to do an upsell here on us.
They are. Well, let's look at it. The first thing that I see as I go down is buy more, right? Buy all of these and add them all to the cart, right? Just like that.
Yeah.
And in case I don't want to buy now, I can add them all to the list. But notice the one the path to buy now has a consistent background coloring, just like this does here. Right? So, and it's calling attention to itself, right? The background is white, there's no saturation. The button has saturation. It stands out because there's essentially a lack of saturation on the page, aside from the images. But there's that right there. There's also a subtle gradient in the button as well, right? Then we've got sponsored products, so they're getting some money from here. Customers who bought this also bought other things. So here's more of the buy more kinds of things. This is the piece that is really well done. And this has shown up, I want to say, in like the last 2 years on Amazon. I've started noticing it. And what's going on here is the most important thing here is information in parallel, where it allows me to compare similar items but instead of having to maybe click on the page to look at it and then click back or hit the back button or open it up in two browsers and put them side by side or open them up in two windows and tab back and forth, instead, I just simply move my eyes left and right.
Yeah.
Right? And moving your eyes is actually a pretty low expense kind of movement compared to all of those other options I described for being able to compare.
Okay.
Right? So information in parallel is a guideline that happens again and again and again when you're dealing with a visual interface. Right? If I'm creating an audible only interface or an interface that's only touch only and you can't see it or hear it, then the rules may be different. Actually, I would argue with touch, information parallel is still pretty important. Although with touch, the question is where's the interface going to be? Right on the fingertips, you've got all of this dense, sensors, and you have those on other parts of your body. But like on the back, which is like my favorite place to want to augment, I want to create so one of my crazy side projects I imagine, I say I want to do, but essentially it's a pair of eyes in the back of your head. It's like a small mini Kinect, mounted to the back of you.
Yeah.
And it just, if someone's approaching from behind, it tells you where they're approaching by simply simulating the sensors in your back, right? So you can get a sense of where they are, right?
Okay.
And so you get a sense of how close they are, how fast they're approaching, that sort of thing. And you can encode, for example, speed by a frequency of tapping, and closeness could be by the intensity of the signal. So it's like an electrical signal or something along those lines. And size is simply would correspond to how much is there. And so it would give you another way of seeing 3D. But on your back, the sensors are all far apart. Sorry, go ahead.
But Mark, when I was a kid, I just bought those sunglasses that had the mirrors on the side, so I could right, and I can see straight ahead if I look in the middle of the sunglasses. But the outside edge, the outside third on each one of the lenses, was a mirror that was pointed behind me.
I got to get those sunglasses.
There you go.
I didn't.
You never saw
my dreams.
Oh my gosh, they were like $5 at the nickel and dime store, and at the 5 and dime, and right. It was such a great joke, and of course, you got to be a teenager. You wanted those while you were walking at the mall or down at the beach, so you could check out the girls behind you, right, or the ladies are checking out the guys behind them, right?
Yeah. So. I suppose that's certainly possible to do. Although I would think the view through the tiny mirror would be not as good.
Absolutely,
it
was
a full-on regular.
Absolutely, it was just to raise the radar, but that was the low-tech $5 way.
But I imagine, right, this ability to connect other kinds of input devices to the brain through existing sensors that we've already got.
Okay.
And one of those is through touch, for example. And I got here because I was talking about information in parallel, which is crucial whenever you've got a situation where you want to present information that should be compared.
Okay.
And so Amazon does that well. And so anyway, that's Amazon. I got Amazon up here. Is there anything else you wanted me to take a look at while we got a browser up?
No, I don't think so. I think we're pretty good there. Oh, look at that! And they're linking to the rear view spy glasses mirror vision. There you go. Perfect. It's on Amazon. All right. Thanks for the link there, C17.
Nice.
So I've shown you our CoreWiki project, right? This is a very simple project that we've started building, and right, it's to grow, teach a little bit of ASP.NET, but I showed it to you, and you said there's a couple things here that we should talk about. There's a couple of concerns that you have that we may want to dig into.
Yeah. Yeah, let's bring it up. You want me to bring it up on my machine?
Sure. Why don't you bring it up over there so we can continue on this? I will share. Should I share my application?
Yeah, I think we got to do a live share to kind of give me what I needed to get.
All right. So I am going to open the project, and I'm actually, to make sure that it still works, I'm going to go back to the previous branch and leave Julie's changes right where they are. So I pinned her changes, and I'm going to reopen the project. So we're at the same place that I was at before, and
you're going to give me this link either in Skype, I think, is that right?
Yeah, in Skype. Now the user interface is going to look a little wonky for a second. Yeah, well, I do this and I paste in that. There, oops, I didn't hit return. Do that and put that back. And now Mark's going to be able to join my Visual Studio over here.
Starting a new instance of Visual Studio.
Ah, you click the link. That works too.
I did. Is that what you wanted me to do or no?
That works. The other way is to do file and then join collaboration.
Oh, right. And then paste in or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, it automatically pastes in. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's awesome.
So you should
I
start.
like it.
You should start seeing my code appearing there. I see you're connected.
And tell me when I can start bringing up localhost on this.
Yeah. So if I run the application now, it should share it over to you. So I'm going to start this. Coding with UX that works on all platforms. Absolutely. That's exactly what right, and these UX things we're talking about, this isn't .NET specific. These are things that would apply to whether you're building with PHP or Ruby or whatever, right? Java server pages, Java servlets.
Right. The rules apply whether you're building a watch or a cockpit for a spaceship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It doesn't matter, what you're doing. Let's see. I'm trying to get the localhost thing. It's not coming up on my side over here.
Yep, I am finishing adding these.
Oh,
Go ahead,
okay,
give it one more try there. The debugger looks like it's attached in the bottom of your screen. Looks like it's yep, you've got the orange.
Yep. Oh, actually, I should have shown that. I wanted to. I'm not sure if I can show this or not. Let me show this. Let me see if I can get that up again. I'm not sure if I can or not because it was a great use of contrast. Let me try one more time, see if I can get to it. No, it's breaking me right through. Wait, let me try one more. I have another idea for how I can get to it. I can get to it.
I can hit stop and restart the debugging.
I have one more idea. Let's see what happens.
Okay, and I think your screen is... Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it didn't do it. Stop and let's start it again.
Okay.
I want to show you. We're talking about good UI. I want to show you what I consider really good UI that Google is doing here in the Chrome browser.
All right, you want me to restart?
Yeah, do a restart and tell me when you're ready.
Okay, it's launching. Here we go.
And let's see if I can get to it this time. I'm trying to get to the warning, but it may, because I've already answered, yeah, it's not letting me get through. I was trying to get to the warning page that said, hey, warning, this may not be safe where you're about to get to.
Oh, because of the SSL certificate, yes.
Yeah, let me, I wonder if Edge
actually
can solve this, can get this for me if I bring up Edge and show it to me. Let's see. Let's see if Edge gives me the warning. Oh, yeah, okay. I get a similar one for Edge. So this is what I'm seeing here. Okay. So to get to the potentially dangerous spot, right?
Right.
I have to first click on something that's a link that doesn't look like a link. Okay. Right. So I'm going here, and then going onto the web page is red. So this is actually not bad. I want to be able to show the same thing in Chrome, but I'm not sure I can do it. Because once I've got this, maybe if I restart Chrome entirely, it'll give me an option to do it. Go ahead.
No, incognito won't do it. I think
just
there's.
Tried it, and that failed. I'm going to shut down Chrome, and I'm going to try and come back in. Let's hope that I don't destroy anything that I'm going to be sad about. All right, so I've just shut down Chrome, and let's try one more time and see if I can get that page up. No, Chrome has remembered that I want danger.
Yeah, it's remembered your certificate. There is somewhere in the settings that you can tell it to remove that certificate, to forget about that certificate.
It's a certificate? Is that what I'm looking for?
Yeah, it's right. It's acknowledged it that
certificates is what I've got here.
Don't know if that's it.
Wait, personal other people, immediate certifications. I'm not seeing it here in this list. Trusted root certificates. Is that it? No, I'm not seeing it. Trusted public, not seeing it. Untrusted publishers, not seeing it. Okay, well, can't do it. can't do it. But I wanted to compare the two because side by side would be cool. The piece that I remember that Chrome had in the on the same page that I saw before I got here is they had a blue button you could click that was somewhat similar to this. It was big and blue that essentially didn't take you to the site. So they gave you a nice big blue button to hit to get you out of danger. And they had the similar kind of thing here where you had to click to get on and get to this next piece. So not bad. Okay.
Our friend in the chat room, Skate or Die, posted a thing. If you click, if you click on the HTTPS up top?
Yes.
So where it says not secure, click that.
Site settings.
And it's either that or the certificate. So the view that he has here, and this is a good screenshot he shared. I'm assuming Skater Dies a he. I'm sorry, that they shared. There's also a re-enable warnings might be an option. Dinner 100 says.
See what site settings says on it. I don't think I could say reset site settings. Let's see what that happens. What happens with that? Okay. Let's see if we can go back in. I took out the cookie. No, it's not doing it. That makes me sad. Oh well. All right, we're going to move on. We'll move on and we'll look at the CoreWiki.
Okay.
Good for now.
So right, this is using a little bit of the Bootstrap CSS framework, and we've tried to use the appropriate tags where we think they make sense in the different places here. So we've got a nice right field group here around our homepage and some of the metadata around last published, the number of views, the estimated reading time, the history link that we have there. And we're using the appropriate blue for links there. And then our content in the middle, and then edit and back to home button. Back to home shouldn't appear. That's a known bug that we have to change. But then comments at the bottom, once again, slightly different background that we used for that header around the metadata. And then our content in white around the comments. So
okay, let's talk about what I see on this page.
Okay.
I have a question for you. What is this right here?
So yeah,
Themes?
that's a theme that you can change. So right, and then there's a hot dog stand inspired ouch theme.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you had ouch.
Oh yeah.
Is this one you created like in a streaming session?
Actually, it was a pull request that somebody sent along and said, "Oh look, here's one like hot dog stand." And
okay, this is bad.
No.
It is. And
it's painful, Mark.
It's the reason it's bad. Well, so by the way, so interesting, right? This is clearly painful.
Yes.
Right? We all agree.
Mm-hmm.
If I let's bring up a second one. We'll do a side-by-side comparison on this right here. All right, so let's do this over here. Let's change this to let's do dark for this one.
Oh, there we go. And actually, the author of the pull request, Simon, is in the chat room saying, "Ouch is my fault."
All right, Simon. So good. At least you're fessing up. That's good.
That's right.
All right. So over here, it's not so clear, but over here it's very clear, right? And one of the things that you can do if you're not sure is you can take something to a further extreme.
Okay.
Okay, like we've done on the left. And as we go further in this extreme, it becomes clear that colored backgrounds are a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? We have a visceral reaction. Part of the reaction, part of what's going on is our brain is working harder to find the signal. Right? Because the background, which is a very low important piece of information,
yeah,
right, is emphasized as if it were highly important. Right?
Sure.
It's like saying I'm important. That is the definition of visual noise. Okay? let me show you, if you don't mind. I've got like my slide deck up from one of the talks I give. Uh, this talk in particular is called like the most important things I've learned about good design.
Okay.
And let me bring up the uh, the pieces from this deck, the slides from this deck that correspond to what we're talking about right now, and then we'll go back and look at it
Okay.
and see what you think. So I'm going to first talk about superheroes that I know about. And I know about Batgirl, and I know about the Hulk, and I know about Scarlet Witch, and I know about Superman.
Okay.
And I know, specifically, I know about their powers, I know about their secret identities, and I know about their chances. I got an rough estimate of their chances of beating me in battle. A dance battle I'm thinking about, particularly.
Okay.
So let's organize what we know, and we'll put it in a table. So we've got the superhero,
Yeah.
right? In this column, main power, secret identity, chances of beating me. Batgirl, well, her main power, it's martial arts. Her secret identity, Barbara Gordon. Chances of beating me in a fight, pretty much 100%. The Hulk, main power, Hulk smash. Secret identity, Bruce Banner. Chances of beating me, 50%. If I catch him when he's not the Hulk, I think I can take him out with a 2x4. It sounded mean, but I think I can.
I thought this was a dance battle, Mark.
Yeah, I like to dance with a 2x4, just in case it escalates. I'm the guy who brings a 2x4 to the dance battle. All right, Scarlet Witch, Reality Warp. And then we've also got Superman, super strength, right? So out of these, right, the question is, can we separate this presentation into two groups of information? One group that has high importance, important information, and a second group that has low importance. And just look at this for a second and think about that, and how would you do that? And that's the question. If you have ideas, you can throw them out in the chat room as well. And I will pause for a moment to allow us to reflect.
They're celebrating. They think it's great that you're dancing with a 2x4. That's the quote of the day so far.
Yeah, well, I'm the guy. Here's how I would break these up into two different levels of information, right?
Ooh.
And if that surprised you, in other words, if you were looking only at the text and not at the lines, right? Well, then the takeaway from that is that everything on screen conveys information. Right?
Okay.
The lines, the background even to some degree, right? Arguably in what we saw before with let me bring that up. That conveys some information.
It does.
Right? That background. It conveys some sense of importance.
And actually, Mark, I'm gonna reference Simon here in the chat room who wrote it. Ouch was originally built for my development site on another project to make sure I knew I was on a particular branch. So it sounds very similar to what you're describing, actually.
Oh, it actually is conveying information. Like literally color coding the pages.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. So now what about emphasis is the secondary question, right? Because we were talking about the emphasis, right? If we were looking at this versus this, here the background is really not that emphasized on the right, but on the left it totally is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
For example, let's go over and look at emphasis, right? Well, in this example right here, we look at the Hulk smash reality warp, and we kind of zoom in on it, and we zoom in even another level deeper. We can see that the lines, the thickness of the lines for the font and the borders of the cells is exactly the same. And the contrast is also the same. Contrast and thickness are both ways that you can emphasize. Okay?
Okay.
They're both exactly the same. Okay? But emphasis is the same everywhere. Now, we divided those into two different groups, right? Sometimes I like to do experiments. I like to play, right?
Yeah.
And so let's play and let's make the emphasis the opposite of the importance that we already decided upon, right? We said before that the text was most important and the lines were the least important.
Yeah,
So let's make it the opposite. And then just for kicks, let's switch that around and go in the other direction.
Oh my gosh, that's a
Emphasis
huge difference.
matches importance. Now the question is, of these three, which do you find easiest to read?
Oh, the bottom one.
Yeah, the bottom one. That's the one. If you're like virtually everyone born on this planet, that's the one that you find the easiest. Notice here, I've taken an additional level of importance. I've decided that the headings are not as important as the actual data below. And the reason why is because once I know superhero is the left column, I really don't need to look at this again, and it's just distracting me to make it as high contrast as the elements below it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? So the guideline, right? The key guideline, one of the guidelines from the course, is that emphasis should always match importance. Okay? And then there are some constraints on that. And then I talk about emphasis, things that you can, different ways that you can emphasize. You can see some examples of those here.
Okay.
All right. So back over to here, we've got the background is the least important part of your presentation.
It is.
And yet we see often, designs showing up in backgrounds, right?
Yeah, patterns in the background.
Patterns in the background. We've even seen this as recently as 2 years ago in Office, I think, came out. And
you're right. There was like a circuit board, or you could have dots and a texture in the ribbon.
Yes, it was insane, and it came right on the heels of the install. It stopped the install process from being completely done, and instead was like, hey, how would you like to, configure? Now,
so the folks in the chat room are kind of picking on my little blue matrixy background that I have at the bottom here. So that's a similar way that folks are saying that I'm distracting people.
Well, hold on a second. Let's talk about that for a second, because I want to bring up the web page here. I've lost track somewhere in all of this of the Twitch stream among all my many windows I've just opened up. Let's see if I can find it. Oops, not that. It's important not to click on the wrong thing. I think I've actually closed it down. I think I actually closed it down. Oh, I know why I lost it, because I did, in fact, close it down. So let's get out of here, and we'll bring you up again, and let's look at the bottom of yours. So, and I'll give you a review. So is it okay for me to open up this while we're broadcasting?
Sure.
I just have
to very meta.
Mute it. It's a little bit meta. It is.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. So the movement coming down here, right? You could slow that down.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I think it would still be as effective. In general, though, I think it's not bad. You could, though, drop contrast on it a little bit as well. Let's do this. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Let's get out of here.
Oh, but that's just crazy looking right now.
Let's open up I'm going to open up an image editing program, and I'll show you what things you could do to lower that down, lower the emphasis. One is I would drop speed I would cut speed in half. I don't mind it moving, but it shouldn't be moving more than, it shouldn't be moving to a point that it draws my eyes to it, right? If I'm looking at code down at the bottom, shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, so isn't this interesting? Is this getting too meta? I'm like, hey,
no.
Let's do Science of Grid UI on your layout. So let's actually do this.
You know what? That's exactly what the folks in the chat room were suggesting. Let's talk about it. Absolutely.
Right. We're going to do this. So I'm going to do one thing here. I'm going to just take this so we're not distracted by the middle, because it's a little crazy. I'm going to just kind of do this right here, so we kind of block this out a little bit.
Okay.
So we keep our eyes on the core important parts. Okay. So that's about it. Now, I do have a suggestion for you, and you're probably going to hate it, because it's going to be like, meaning you're going to have to change everything up. But and do you want me to say it or not? Should I
go for it?
Do you want me to censor anything that I think you might hate?
No.
Or no? Okay. So you in the bottom left,
yes.
You're much better on the bottom right. And the reason why is because when you write code, most of the code, the important stuff, the chances that it's going to be on the left are 100%. The chances it falls off on the right are less. Right? And so if you put yourself on the right, your chances that you're going to block code are reduced.
So I'm going to tell you, we absolutely have seen that problem, And one of the ways that I've gotten around it is I moved my Solution Explorer to the left side.
Ah, brilliant. So you could totally solve it that way.
So I open the
Because,
panel so it's as wide as my head.
yeah,
And then the code is actually, I can actually then reach out and point to the bottom lines because they're right here.
nice. Yeah, you can totally do that. Let me show you what you might do with this background. You might. Because in general, I like this. The reason why I like this is because there's not a lot of color noise here.
Yes.
Right? Here, there's a lot of color noise. When we see lots of different colors, the first thing our brain tries to do is say, orange must mean something. What's it mean? Green must mean something. What does it mean? Right? But here, we've got blue, and it's all the same shade of, or it's different shades of the same hue of
Right.
blue.
And
Maybe two different hues. I'm sorry, go ahead. What?
actually, yeah, you'll see it actually gets darker and it gets almost black, and you'll see it scroll down. It's at the light side right now, but it goes from all the way light all the way to dark and then back again.
Oh, interesting. I didn't notice that. So I'm seeing it on the live one over here. I just switched over to that. But I did not notice that. Is there a seam or is it smooth?
I've smoothed it.
Transitions. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please. I was going to say that's what I've done. I can actually pop open the image here if you wanted to see it, where it's actual. I've got it set up so it'll repeat nicely.
All right, so I just wanted to adjust contrast and brightness a little bit with this and show possible places that you could go with this. If you drop contrast a bit, like this, right, drop contrast a little bit, and depending on what kind of theme you want to do as well, like right about to there, right? Here's what the original was, right there, and then here's what we are, what it is when we're dropping down. What you're looking for is you're looking for something that fills, so it doesn't look empty and blank and dead.
Exactly.
Right, a little bit, right? Because that's part of what we're doing. You're not putting any text over it, so it's okay to have a pattern here.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And so I'm okay with that from a pattern standpoint. But you might consider dropping contrast down. And we could do this. If I drop it way down, we lose some color, like that.
Yeah.
But you could come back in and you could add saturation back into it as well with using a different option if you want to. And then what happens is you get something, here, let me do that, and let's just compare. There's the original and there's the adjusted one, right? So there's the original, there's adjusted. And if you want, I can get them to you side by side by cutting out half of the adjusted. So there's your, on the left, you
before
have,
and after.
Currently have, on the right, you have the after. And you can see, oh yeah, the contrast here is partially interesting to me, right? And if I drop it down like that, I'm in a better spot. The other thing I can,
let me pause you. Pop open the Twitch screen right now, because now it's at that, right now the scroll is at that really dark part.
Ooh, yeah, that's higher contrast. And that's tougher, right? If everything was the similar contrast, I would go with that, I think. If it's going to the darker, I think you still have to go in. You're going to have to make changes to it.
Okay.
If I pop that the screenshot in as a new piece, let's just focus only on the darker piece here and look at that. Like that. Here, I'll keep my ad for my upcoming show in there so people can see that as well. So Jeff inspired me to start live streaming.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm excited as heck about this, and so that's my new show. It debuts in like, I don't know, I want to say like 4 or 5 days. Next Wednesday is when it.
When you're going to start.
25th. Yeah, it debuts on Wednesday, July 25th.
Awesome. We'll be sure to tune in.
So it makes 2 changes there, and come in and make the same changes. So I just basically did the same 2 changes, where let me copy that. Let me undo both of those changes. And then let's paste that in as a secondary layer. And then you can see these side by side here, kind of where I'm suggesting going. So you might do that. In fact, I would totally suggest you do that. It drops the contrast, which to the brain sends a reduced signal that there's important information down there.
Okay.
Okay? Something to consider. When these animate in right here, they call your attention to it.
They do.
That's up in the air. Right? If you
it's a little distracting, certainly.
Yeah, if you want people to look at that, by all means, I'm okay with with that. But if you want to not distract people from the code, right? Instead of having them slide in, just have them fade in and fade out.
Right, and that was a purposeful decision to make sure that you at least peek down there once or twice. So you'd be like, oh look, Julie's doing a thing about coaching. Terrific! I can go learn more about it there's Julie's information. And similarly, when the other events and advertisements show up, like, hey, Mark's got a show coming up, and it looks like a couple folks in the chat room are going and following right now. That's great. Go ahead and do that.
Go do that. You are allowed to do that, kids. I like, by the way, so we talked about this offline, but we were talking about your decision to put the chat window in your broadcast.
Yep.
And I was like, brilliant, because for a couple reasons. One is you told me that it was important to you because some of the, essentially the aggregators, like if you were going to see this out on YouTube or some other service, you don't get the chat window.
Right.
And to include that allows you, people watching it, to participate in the historic participation in the chat room.
And as a
see it at least
as a functional thing, back in January, February, we were streaming also to Mixer. So we were streaming to 2 services. So folks that were on Twitch couldn't see what the folks on Mixer were saying. So by putting the combined chat from both services into the video, you could actually have cross-service chatting.
Oh, I didn't. So wait, you're telling me you can Mixer? So I'm not familiar with Mixer like at all, other than I know it's something similar to Twitch. Are you telling me that when you broadcast, you're broadcasting live both on Twitch and Mixer at the same time? No?
I'm no longer doing that, but I was doing that previously, and we actually have a couple events coming up in September that we're going to broadcast directly to the Visual Studio channel on several different services at the same time. So our .NET Conf event, we want to make sure we get broad adoption. We want everybody to be able to tune in, whether they can see it on Twitch or Mixer or YouTube. So we're going to broadcast to several different places all at the same time.
Nice. That's super cool. All right, let's go. I'm just looking at the time. I'm thinking, oh no, I've got 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
But let's look up. Can I talk about the? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say we've learned a lot though about just how much contrast and brightness can make information pop and really make it more consumable to our eyes. We have less that we need to do, less work that our eyes need to do, and in order to consume that information. That's huge to me.
Yeah. Let me do this. I'm gonna run through things that I see that I think are mistakes.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do them really fast so that later you can go in and take a look at them. And if you have a question why, you can maybe we can have me back on, or we can go to you can go ask me during my show as well.
Maybe I bring CoreWiki to your show and we talk about it more over there.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
You can totally do that.
Yes.
All right, so the white background here, you're increasing contrast, which is not bad, but it calls attention to the background, the circle around the number 5, where you really want to get their eyes on the number 5. I suggest instead leave the background color as is, but instead take view count and make it so it's not bold. Because view count, the label, is not as important as the actual count. That's my argument. Same argument here. The saturation around this border is too high. It calls attention to itself. Cut that saturation in half or make it a gray. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
How do I get to the diff page? What is it? Edit?
So click the history.
Right there. Okay, there it is. History. Click 2 different versions. Let's diff these. Compare the versions. Okay.
Now, hang on. What did you think of that page?
Hold on. Let's go back to it. I'm not bad. Not bad on it.
Okay.
I get to, there's a couple problems with it though. I will talk about it. Not bad in that the thing I wanted to do, I could do very quickly. Boom and boom, and I hit it. I'll tell you the problems though, okay? So here, you're emphasizing the title of the information instead of the information. This should not be bold. The information should be bold.
Ah.
Got it?
Okay.
This is completely inverse of what it should be. Over here, there's a size problem with this checkbox.
There
Look
is.
how close I am.
Yeah.
Right? But I ought to be able to click like anywhere within where I'm circling the mouse. If I'm on that line, it should check it.
Well,
what we're talking about is widening the path. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, gosh, I should be able to click anywhere on the row.
I'm open to that.
Okay.
Don't have a problem with that at all. All right. Next, I want to show a tool, and I'll probably talk about this in the future on on my show. This is called the Highlight Explorer. It's out at github.com/MillerMark. That's my name in reverse, /Highlight Explorer. And this allows you to come in and say, well, let's grab, for example, the background from over here. Where is that? Let me get that background. There it is. So I just grab that. In fact, actually, this goes, let's actually show the full purpose of this tool. Let's put it there. The actual background for the text is this, arguably. Okay, see what I'm doing? I'm duplicating this over here. The foreground color appears to be FFF. I'm just going to, do I have 3 of those there? FFF, like that. And the text color is also FFF as well.
Actually, I think it's 00.
Oh, 000, sorry.
I get
For
those
some reason,
backwards
that was so weird. I think I've been actually really good about it until this moment in time. All right, so there it is. This looks a lot like that. Okay? So now if we look through this, the Highlight Explorer will tell you if you've got any problems, right? So far there are no warning messages here. And with regard to what, I think this is pronounced WCAG, WCAG 2.0 compliance. With regard to this, we've got one problem. And the problem is that with the latest guidelines, the 1.4.6 contrast guidelines for text for small fonts, which is what this is.
Yeah.
That color contrast right here, which is basically, we're talking about the highlighting color that we've got here. That is too close, and it's hard to read. Many people will find this very hard to read. And so we need to fix that. And we can fix that in a couple different ways. We can fix that by saying, well, let's take the highlight and make it brighter, right? And you can see what's happening here, right? And so you can use this tool to get to a point where, oh, I don't have problems, or, whoa, I really do have problems, right? And get to a point where I'm out of the problem zone space, and then copy that color, whatever that is now for the new highlight, and use that instead, right down here. And so that's a problem that you have because that's hard to read. In fact, I wouldn't be embarrassed by that because guess what? Almost all div programs have this particular problem.
Yeah.
They make text harder to read. And with that, that's my high-speed run-through, given the time that we have. I don't want to step over.
This is terrific. And you know what? Folks in the chat room are saying, we need to do more on this. Tell you what, tune in to Mark next Wednesday over at the Code Rushed channel here on Twitch.
Code Rush with an ED at the end. Yeah,
Code
go to that.
Rushed. Yeah. Awesome.
Also, we'll be giving away free licenses to Code Rush as well to followers. So if you are interested in Code Rush, you work in Visual Studio, go ahead and follow for a chance to win.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Yeah, that hour flew by. And yeah, folks in the chat room saying learned a lot. Does the tool, good question, does the tool handle colors for folks who are colorblind?
Kind of. And the reason why is that for reading, color really doesn't matter. For reading for both colorblind people and non-colorblind people, it's essentially happening at a level in the brain where color is removed. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's the most important here. Let me show you an example of it really quickly here. Hold on, let me bring this up. With my slide up. Whoops, let's go to, let me exit this a second and jump. I need to get to slide 14. And it's coming, it's loading up. Here we go. So on the top, I have the question, does this text seem hard to read? And on the bottom, I have the question, does this text seem easy to read? And the answer is, if you're like virtually everyone on this planet, the text on top should seem harder to read, and the text on the bottom should seem clearer. And the reason why is because when we take away color from both of these, and we just move it to the grayscale, that the color hue I chose for the text matched exactly the color hue for the background color. This is another reason why backgrounds should not be a color, and there are other conclusions we can reach as well from backgrounds, right? In terms of backgrounds, they shouldn't be in the middle gray.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Oh my God, reminds me, there's a serious problem with Twitch. Oh my gosh, it's huge. You know what, maybe I'll show it later because I don't want to go over time.
Yeah.
But Twitch blows it, completely blows it.
When you're in dark mode.
Yes, they've got an option, you've probably seen it, to select your color for the chat window. And they give you one option for color, right? That's supposed that you now have to pick a color that's going to work on both dark and light. OMG.
Yeah, let's send the folks at Twitch a little message there to help out with that.
They
Yeah,
need two settings to fix this problem.
they do.
Or they need to make it so that the hue is automatic. You set it for one, and we automatically adjust the hue for the other. So it's if you pick a dark color, right? The whole thing is messed up. It's totally messed up. If for it to be easy to read, there are known likely values for luminance, for essentially brightness of the color against the background, so we can get sufficient contrast,
Yeah.
right? And yet they give you the full on. In other words, that means also I could create a color that's completely invisible in light mode or in dark mode. So my name would never appear in one of those two.
Yeah. All right. That's all the time. We're already over a little bit. Yes. Thanks so much, Mark. This was great. We really learned a lot. The folks in the chat room are really happy with this. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember, if you want to check out Mark, he's got a channel starting up, Code Rushed. You see it there under his name. Check that out over on twitch.tv/Code Rushed. Throw him a follow and tune in Wednesday when he starts shows over there. Thank you very much, Mark. This was great.
You're welcome.
All righty. And I'm going to go over to this, and we're going to disconnect with Mark.